the reception comes in, where they say, you know what? I recognize now, after hearing the real story about Jesus Christ, just how valuable He is. And they decide to go all in. They give up whatever it is that was holding them back from receiving Jesus as their Lord and Savior. They'll do anything, they'll give anything, they'll leave anything behind because they suddenly have realized the value of this thing. And for them, the parable of the hidden treasure is fulfilling a need they never knew they had. And for a lot of folks, it's just that way. You didn't even know you needed Jesus Christ until you heard what He really says. And then suddenly you realize there's a huge God-shaped hole in your heart. He's the only way to fill it, and so you will do anything to get it. So then there's a similar parable next, but just with a slight twist. And Jesus says in verse 45, again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls, who on finding one pearl of great value went and sold all that he had and bought it. So in this parable, you've got a business person, and they are looking for good pearls. They just haven't found the really good pearl. They've been dealing and doing business and going about their thing, just waiting for their ship to come in. And so they're looking through the pearls at the market, and suddenly they find the one. How could it have been overlooked? How could it not have been separated out? This is the most incredible pearl anyone has ever found. If I can obtain this one pearl, I will be set up for life. And so that business person goes away, takes all their property, all their pearls, all their everything, and sells it to go back and get that one pearl of incredible value. This is a person who knows they are in need. And they have been searching for a way to fill that hole in their heart all of their lives, and nothing seems to satisfy. Nothing does the trick. And then they come upon the gospel of Jesus Christ, and they go, that's it. That's what I've been searching for my whole life, and I didn't know that this was the thing. But now that I know, I'm going to be all in for that. I'm going to lay down everything. I'm going to put my full weight down on the message of Jesus Christ, knowing that I found something I've always been looking for. So then he goes on to another parable. This one's a lot more like the parable of the weeds. Verse 47, again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was thrown into the sea and gathered fish of every kind. When it was full, men drew it ashore and sat down and sorted the good into containers, but threw away the bad. So it will be at the close of the age. The angels will come out and separate the evil from the righteous and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So Jesus is describing something these folks would have known innately. I mean, he is there at Capernaum by the sea, fishing industry going on all over the place, and he's describing something they would have seen happen all the time, every day. Now, what would happen is they'd take a net, and they would either string it between two boats or between a boat and the shore. They'd have cork bobbers on the top to keep the top of the net near the surface, and then it would be weighted slightly to make the net go down straight to the bottom. And then they would just drag it along and begin to close it as they went, and you would pull in a whole great number of fish. Then they would drag the thing to the shore, and then they would sit there and they would go, oh yeah, here's a perch or something. I don't know what fish they had there, but and here's a trout or whatever, and they would put those into the containers to take to market, and the bad stuff, the suckers and whatnot, they just throw them away. Now, what's Jesus talking about? Is he talking about fishing? No. And he describes it exactly of what he's talking about here. And basically, the gospel message, as it's going out into the earth, hits everybody. It's like broadcasting. You may not realize it, but you are right now bathed in light. It's not light that you can see, but it is part of the light spectrum, and that is the broadcast signals of radio and television stations and shortwave radios and cell phones. Did you know that people's cell phone conversations are passing through your body? You wonder why you can never get the voices out of your head, right? You can't sense it. You don't have the proper equipment to do it, but it's really there all the time. That's the gospel message too. As you go out as a Christian and live your life and reflect the character of Jesus Christ, you are like a broadcast antenna for the love of Jesus into the world. The gospel is going to go out and reach lots and lots of people. In fact, at one point it will have reached everybody in the world. And then the Lord will say, okay, it's time. And I'm going to close up shop here. I'm going to come back to planet Earth and set up my kingdom. And at that point, all those who have heard the gospel will have had a chance to react to it. Either reject it and say, not for me. No thanks, I want to be captain of my own destiny. I want to do my own thing. I don't want to be responsible or accountable to anybody. I'm just going to go off into the universe and kind of do my own thing, which is actually not the way that it works, and people fool themselves into thinking that. We're born a member of a kingdom. We have the opportunity through the gospel of Jesus Christ to join a new kingdom. I don't want to be a part of that old kingdom, because what's going to happen to that old kingdom is what he describes here. It's going to be thrown into a fiery furnace, and there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth, which speaks of sorrow and remorse and anxiety and pain. Well, hey, I don't want to sign up for that stuff. I want to go to that kingdom where the Lord talks about joy inexpressible and full of glory, life, abundant life, peace that passes your ability to understand, healing in the leaves of the trees, a place where they use gold as paving material. Talk about treasure. That's the kind of kingdom that I want to be involved in. But to get there, my reaction to this free gift of Jesus Christ has to be one like the person who found the buried treasure or the pearl of great price, to say, you know, it's worth it for me. I want that kingdom more than I want my own way. So then in verse 51, he says, talking to his disciples, have you understood all these things? Did you get it, guys? And they said to him, yes. And he said to them, therefore every scribe who has been trained for the kingdom of heaven is like a master of a house who brings out of his treasure what is new and what is old. So basically he's saying, you guys, having received my message, are now the ones capable of really explaining my kingdom. The scribes who have stuck to the old way that says, I got to earn my way to God through obedience, they're no longer qualified to correctly interpret and explain what I'm talking about. But you are. And he says, it's like the master of a house who brings out of his treasure what is new and what is old, essentially saying, all that was in the old covenant looks forward to the work of Jesus Christ. Everything that is in the New Testament, the New Covenant, looks back to what Jesus has done. They all focus in on Jesus as the pinnacle of everything. And so that's why someone who knows Jesus Christ is able to explain what the Old Testament really means. So then in verse 53, when Jesus had finished these parables, he went away from there. And coming to his hometown, he taught them in their synagogue. Now, he went home to Nazareth, and Nazareth is about 20 miles southwest of Capernaum. So it probably would have been a good day's walk for them. And Nazareth, at the time, archaeologists estimate there were between 1,600 and 2,000 people living in Jesus'